All right. Welcome, everyone, to AI Tech Talk channel. We love bringing you the latest and greatest in the tech world. And today we're going to be diving deep into a really critical part of software development. You know, the unsung heroes that ensure that the software we all use actually works as expected.
Absolutely.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Talia. So happy to be here.
So Talia, today we're talking all about QA and,
Yeah.
you know, the role of the QA professional.
Okay.
Just to clarify for our listeners, QA in this context stands for quality assurance.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Not question and answer, though. They probably answer a lot of questions in the process.
They do, by finding all those tricky bugs.
Exactly. You're the bug busters.
The busters, love it.
So, you know, the role of QA, it's evolved quite a bit, you know, over time.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, as software development has changed, so too has QA. So let's take a look back, I guess, for a minute.
Okay.
You know, our sources show that kind of in the early days, and by early days, we're talking like mid-90s to the mid-2000s, QA was very much team-oriented.
It was all about the team back then.
Right. It was all about processes and putting things in place to prevent bugs from happening in the first place.
Right. So really building quality in from the start.
Yeah, having those reviews audits.
Lots of documentation.
Lots of documentation, absolutely. And really using data to drive those quality improvements.
Data-driven, for sure.
But then things started to shift, you know, around that 2005, 2015 period.
What happened then?
Technology really started to take center stage.
Yeah,
Right? We saw this huge rise in using specific tools
definitely.
and automation,
Yeah.
specifically to kind of hunt down those bugs. And I think that's when we saw performance testing and automation frameworks become, you know, really central to the QA process.
Absolutely. It became all about efficiency and detecting issues faster.
Right. So the focus kind of shifted from preventing bugs to, you know, kind of like finding them more effectively.
Yeah.
Now to recently, and we're talking, you know, like 2015 to now.
So the past decade,
Yeah, there's been yet another evolution in QA.
another shift.
Right.
Interesting. Tell me more.
And this time it's moving more towards this kind of experience-oriented approach.
Oh, focusing on the user experience.
Yeah, and now we're seeing, you know, QA teams having more say earlier in the development process.
Okay, so they're getting involved earlier.
Yeah, and while automation is still super crucial,
Of course.
you know, good old-fashioned manual testing
Yeah.
is still vital for catching those really nuanced problems.
Right.
You know, the ones that automation might miss.
Yeah, the things that really impact how users experience the software.
Exactly. So now there's this huge emphasis on careful test planning and designing test cases that are really effective.
Yeah, and that's not just about making sure the software works, but also that it meets the user's needs.
It's that whole user-centric approach,
Makes sense.
right? So it's about the software working and working well for the people who are actually using it.
Yeah. So how does a QA team actually make all of this happen?
Right. So, you know, how does it all come together?
Yeah.
Well, our research pointed to this framework called the QA and Testing Engineering Framework.
Okay, a framework.
Yeah. It's like a blueprint
Okay.
or a set of guidelines for how QA is done effectively.
Gotcha.
And this framework covers a few key areas.
All right, break it down for me.
So first off, you've got the engineering aspect, and this covers things like the review processes,
Okay.
how changes to the software are managed, you know, things like version control, and making sure that all the changes are tracked and documented properly.
So keeping everything organized.
Exactly.
Right, what else is in this framework?
Then you have the technology side of things.
Okay.
And this is where modern practices like DevOps come in.
DevOps.
Yeah, as well as testing user experience,
Right.
checking all the non-functional aspects like performance and security.
Those are important.
Very important. And of course, test automation.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget that.
Right. It's like the bread and butter of modern QA.
It seems like this framework is really comprehensive.
It is. It's about covering all the bases, you know.
Yeah, I see that.
Then you've got the methodology aspect.
Okay, the methodology.
Right. And this covers things like verifying and validating the software.
So making sure it does what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. It's about those checks and balances and then more reviews.
More reviews.
Yeah, because you
Gotcha.
never have too many eyes on the code.
True.
And then you know how to design those test cases in detail.
So really thinking through all the scenarios.
Right. And then how to report the testing progress and results.
So everyone's on the same page.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Transparency is key.
Gotcha.
And underpinning all of this, you have the standards.
Standards.
Yeah. And this is where you define what a quality product actually looks like.
So setting the bar.
Right? How issues or bugs are defined.
So everyone knows what a bug is.
Exactly. Consistency is important.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the criteria for, starting and finishing testing.
So when to start testing and when to say, okay, we're done.
Right. And lastly, you have the tools.
The tools of the trade.
Yeah, this is all the stuff that QA teams rely on to do their jobs effectively.
Like what kind of tools?
Well, you got systems for tracking test cases and bugs,
Mm-hmm.
specialized tools for performance and security testing,
Okay.
automation tools,
Right.
and even the DevOps tools that help integrate testing seamlessly into the whole development process.
So it's about having the right tools for the job.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like there's a lot of structure involved in QA.
Yeah, it's not just about
Right.
randomly clicking around and hoping for the best.
Ha ha ha. Right.
So how is a QA organization typically structured to handle all of this?
Good question. How do they organize themselves?
Right, so you often see something called a foundation team.
A foundation team.
Yeah, and they're responsible for setting those policies and processes that we talked about.
Okay, so they lay the groundwork,
Right, and they also manage the technology and infrastructure that the QA team needs.
the backbone of the operation.
Nice.
What other teams are there?
Then you've got teams focused on quality management and auditing.
Quality management and auditing.
Yeah, and they're the ones making sure that those processes are actually being followed.
Okay, so they keep everyone on track.
Right, they're like the quality police.
I like that.
And they also ensure that the software is up to par.
Meeting those standards.
Exactly.
It sounds like they have a pretty important job.
They do. And then another key team is the education and coaching team.
Oh, interesting. Education and coaching.
Yeah, and they're focused on upskilling everyone in the organization.
So making sure everyone understands quality.
Right, they provide training and resources to help everyone understand and implement those quality practices.
That's really important.
It is, because quality is everyone's responsibility.
Absolutely.
Now, what's interesting is that you often have technical QA engineering teams,
Technical QA engineering.
and these teams specialize in areas like automation and performance testing.
Okay, so the specialists.
Right, and they often work across different projects.
So they're not tied to one specific project.
Exactly. They're kind of like the experts that get called in when needed.
Gotcha.
And then you also have business QA engineering teams.
Business QA engineering.
Yeah. And they focus more on the business side of things.
Like what?
Things like design quality, making sure the software meets the business requirements.
So they're looking at it from the business perspective.
Exactly. They're the ones who make sure the software actually solves the problems it's supposed to solve.
Okay, that makes sense.
And like the technical QA engineers, they also often work across various projects.
So they have a broad view.
Right. And then you typically find quality control embedded directly within the specific product or project teams.
So they're on the front lines.
Right. They're the ones who are really in the trenches doing the day-to-day testing.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, there's often an infrastructure and common tool development team.
Infrastructure and common tool development, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, but it's an important one.
What do they do?
They build and maintain the tools that everyone else in the QA team uses.
Oh, so they're like the tool makers.
Exactly. They make sure that the QA team has the right tools for the job.
So they're crucial for efficiency.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like there are a lot of different roles within QA.
There are a lot of different moving parts.
Can we dive into some specific roles?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the PQL. That's the Project QA Lead.
Project QA lead.
Right. And essentially, they're the QA leader for a specific project.
Okay, so they're in charge of QA for that project.
Right. They're responsible for creating the test plan, coordinating the QA effort, reviewing test cases and bugs, and reporting on the overall quality of that project.
So they wear a lot of hats.
They do. They're kind of like the project manager for QA.
Gotcha.
Then you have the TL, or the team leader.
The team leader.
Right. And they focus more on the QA function as a whole.
Okay, so they're managing a team of QA professionals.
Right. They manage resources, work on team development, and aim to improve the overall efficiency and quality of their team's work.
So they're focused on the big picture.
Right. They're all about continuous improvement.
Makes sense.
Then you have the TQA, or the technical QA,
Technical QA.
and they're the ones who set up and manage those crucial systems like bug tracking and test case management.
Oh, so they're the tech experts.
Yeah. And they also often research and evaluate new technologies that can help improve the QA process.
Keeping things up to date.
Absolutely.
What about the STE, or software test engineer?
The software test engineer.
Yeah, what do they do?
They're the hands-on testers.
Yeah.
They design the test cases, perform the tests, report any bugs they find, and verify that those bugs are fixed.
So they're doing the actual testing?
Yeah, they're the ones who are really putting the software through its paces,
Makes sense.
especially before automation is in place.
Right.
Then you have the SQM, or Software Quality Manager.
Software quality management.
And they take a broader view.
Yeah.
They manage the overall quality system, define the policies and processes, conduct audits, analyze quality data, and even lead training on quality practices.
So they're kind of like the quality gurus.
Yeah, they're the ones who make sure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to quality.
Gotcha.
And finally, you have the SET, or the software engineer in test.
The software engineer and test.
Yeah, they're the automation expert.
Oh, so they're the ones who write the code for the automated tests.
Right. They design and build the automation frameworks, write the automated tests, maintain those tests, and often handle non-functional testing, like performance and load testing.
Wow, they sound busy.
They're the ones who are really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with automation.
That's cool.
So as you can see, the QA role is incredibly diverse.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's absolutely critical in ensuring software quality.
Definitely.
It's come a long way from just finding bugs at the end of development.
It's so much more than that now.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it continues to evolve alongside software development itself.
For sure.
And that's actually a perfect segue to what we'll be covering in future deep dives,
Oh, tell me more.
right here on AI Tech Talk channel.
I'm listening.
We'll be taking a closer look at how QA functions in both traditional waterfall development and more modern agile processes.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we'll explore how the role of the QA professional changes and adapts in those different environments.
It's so important to stay up to date on these things.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to those deep dives.
Awesome. So stay tuned for those. And
Yes, can't wait.
in the meantime,
Mm-hmm.
thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of QA.
It was a pleasure being here.
Really appreciate you being here, Talia.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, and we hope you found it insightful.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to learn about this ever-changing field.
Definitely.
All right, we'll catch you next time right here on AI Tech Talk channel.
See you then.
Take care.